Today our lesson is about midpoints of segments. So go ahead and date your page in your notebook and title it 1.3 midpoints of segments. Okay, midpoint is the point that's halfway between the endpoints of a segment. So let's say we have segment A. Ooh, don't know why I did that. Segment A, B. And if I tell you that M is the midpoint of this segment, then that means it's exactly halfway in between A and B. What that means is segment AM is going to be congruent, which means it has equal length. It's going to be congruent to segment MB. So if M is the midpoint, of segment AB, then we can say segment AM is going to be congruent to segment MB. Couple things. Remember, when segments are congruent, you put a tick mark through them to indicate that they are congruent to each other. Congruent means they have the same length. So if I took a ruler and I measured the length of AM, it'd be the same as the length of MB. And then if your equal sign has a hat, which is that little squiggle on top, if your equal sign has a hat, then your segments have to wear a hat too. A segment bisector is any segment line playing anything that intersects a segment at its midpoint. So again, if I told you that M was the midpoint of this segment, and I have this line that intersects through M, this line that passes through point M, that line would be a segment bisector. That pink line is bisecting the blue segment. It's passing through its midpoint. Bisect, if you think bi means two, sect sort of like pieces. So if you're like bisecting something, this is a huge vocab word, bisector. Keep this in your back pocket. Bisector, bisector, bisector. Your segment bisector is cutting your segment into two congruent pieces. Go ahead and pause your video and update midpoint and segment bisector in your glossary section of your notebook. Okay, our example is if M is the midpoint of JK, so here's M, here's J and K. M is the midpoint of JK, and JM is x plus 10, and MK, that's a 10, and MK is 2x plus 2. What is JK? So if M is the midpoint, that means that this segment and this segment are congruent to each other. If M is the midpoint, it's cutting that segment into two equal pieces. JM should be equal to MK. So I can set up the equation x plus 10, which is segment JM, x plus 10 should be equal to 2x plus 2. So now I'm just going to solve that equation. I'm going to subtract x and subtract 2 to get x is 8, but that is not what I'm asking you for. I'm asking you not to find x, but what is JK? Gotta read the problem, gotta read the problem. So I'm going to plug the 8 back in. 8 plus 10 is 18, so both of these segments are 18, which makes JK, the whole enchilada, JK is 36.